Welcome to the video lectures on analog electronics. Myself, Dr. Shoumik Poddar, Assistant Professor, Electronics and Communication Engineering Department, Guru Nanak Institute of Technology. The course code is EE303, contact is 3, credit is 3. Before going to detailed discussion of this course, first let us introduce the course outcome, which is essential for MBA purpose. Course outcome implies that the students will acquire after learning the course. Course name is Analog Electronics, course code EE303, contact 3 lecture, total contact hours 34, credit is 3. To gain knowledge and to have the expertise in this analog electronics, the prerequisites of this course are basic knowledge about electronic components, that is resistor, R, inductor, L, capacitor, C. Network theorems, Kirchhoff's law, Thevenin's theorem, Norton's theorem, Miller theorem, etc. Basic knowledge about the operation of semiconductor devices, that is diode, transistor, JFET, MOSFET, etc. Basic idea of integrated circuit, voltage current equations, basic knowledge of differentiation, integration, differential equation, matrix, etc. The course outcome are divided into six outcomes. That is, first outcome 6C01 is students will be able to design DC power supplies. CO2 is students will be able to analyze transistor amplifier circuit. CO3 is students will be able to understand effects of different feedback mechanism. CO4 is students will be able to analyze signal generator circuit. CO5, student will be able to design power amplifier circuit. And the final CO6 is students will be able to understand linear and nonlinear applications of op-amp, that is IC741. Basically, we are using the 741 op-amp, and then the students will be able to understand these different applications of 741 so that they can design the complex electronic circuits using this op-amp. These are the suggested references. Textbooks are basically referred to Boylston and Nessels Electronic Devices and Circuit Theory, Gaikward, op-amps and linear ICs, Cedra and Smith Microelectronic Circuits. And these are the reference books. The students can take intellectual help from these reference books to get a clear idea about the analog electronics. This is the articulation matrix, which implies the mapping of course outcome CO with the program outcome PO. Program outcome means the outcome acquired by the students after passing the BTech in Electronics and Communication Engineering. So under PO, there are so many COs. Now the number of POs are PO1 to PO12, and the number of COs will be CO1 to CO6. Individual CO will be mapped to different POs according to some extent. That is, here 3 means the mostly related, 2 means most it's correlated with that particular PO by somehow lower altitude. Next, we will go to the lesson plan of this analog electronics. First, we will discuss the module 1. In module 1, the topics to be discussed are filters and regulators. In filters and regulators, the subtopics are capacitor filter, pi section filter, ripple factor, series and shunt voltage regulator, line and load regulation, 78XX and 79XX series, concept of SMPS. The total instruction hour for this particular module is 4, and the CO involved is CO1. That is, after learning this module, the student will be able to design DC power supplies. For understanding this topic clearly, the prerequisites are fundamentals on diode-based rectifier circuits, BJT characteristics, and op-amp. Now, module 1 is divided into two parts. First part is filter, the second part is regulator. Now, first of all, we have to know what is filter. Mostly in our daily lives, we are dealing with AquaGuard and several branded water filter. Now, the function of the water filter is that it will remove the larger particles, that behaves as impurities, and we will filter out the water which is basically healthy for our lives. So same function will be implemented in electronics circuits. When the electronic circuits are connected to the AC mains, AC main is basically have various noise and various noise, and it has it is the AC signal, so it has some frequencies. But the DC circuits, they are not comfortable with this type of signal. They need a steady voltage to be operated. So now the question is that how can we clear this type of alternating nature of the signal? Secondly, most of the communication systems, communication circuits, they are dealing with different type of signals at different frequencies, but all the frequencies are not needed for proper operation of the communication based circuits. So in that case, some selection will be very essential. Now, for selection of the frequencies, a circuits to be employed is filter. So filter is a frequencies selective circuit that passes a specific band of frequencies and attenuates frequencies outside the band. So it will collect the specific band of frequencies which is essential for a particular circuit and rejects or blocked or attenuates the rest of the frequencies present in the signal. Now there are two types of filters. One is active filter, second one is the passive filter. Active filters, from its name, it implies that it has some much more activity. Means it is very much dynamic. That means this type of filters not only filters out the undesirable frequencies, but it will also amplify the incoming signal. So the output signal of active filter is an amplified version of the input signal with some specific frequencies that is needed for processing for a particular circuit. But in case of passive filter, there is no chance of amplification of the signals, only the frequency selection is performed. Now the question is that what are the components that is basically used only for filtering, not for amplification? So the filters which are used, those components which basically filtering the signals are capacitors, resistors and inductors. They are called passive components because they do not amplify any signals. Now the question is that why will we study this filter circuit? As already mentioned that in AC means there are lots of noise and also the signal frequency is 50 hertz or 60 hertz, etc. But most of the electronic circuits, they are not activated with this type of pulsating signals. They need a DC constant or the steady voltage for the proper operation. So minimization of undesirable AC from output is highly needed. If you will see in the pictorial representation of the filter, it is observed that at the input side of the filter, the rectifier is connected whose output is pulsating in nature. That means some peaks are appeared at the output, whereas after processing through the filter, these peaks will somehow be reduced and we will get a smoothing signal from the filter circuit. So this type of signal will be beneficial for these electronic devices. Next is we will discuss the two important filters that are mostly used commercially. One is capacitor filter, second one is the pi section filter. First, we will study the capacitor filter. Capacitor filter means here only a capacitor is used as the filtering element. So if you see the circuit diagram of the capacitor filter, you will see that the rectifier is connected with a capacitor and the load is connected after the capacitor but and also in the parallel connection with the capacitor. So therefore the capacitor voltage is nothing but the output voltage across the load resistance, and the rectifier output signal is filtered by this capacitor. We all of you know that the capacitor has a reactance Xc is equals to 1 by j omega c. Xc equals to 1 by j omega c, where omega is the incoming signal frequency, c is the capacitance, and j denotes the phase of this reactance. Now, if we take the modulus value, it is equals to x equals to 1 by omega c, where the angular frequency omega is equals to 2 pi fc. This f is basically the AC signal frequency. Now, what will happen if the signal frequency is high? Then automatically the denominator gets higher and the Xc becomes lower. When the Xc becomes lower, the capacitor offers lower reactance, means lower reactivity towards the signal. So the signal will easily process or pass through the capacitor without any blockade. But if the omega becomes very low or almost to zero, then the reactance will be sufficiently high, almost tends to infinity. Infinity means the capacitor becomes open, it will not be it will so highly reactive to the frequency, so the frequency will not pass through the capacitor. So this is the fundamental mechanism of a capacitive reaction. So what will happen in the rectifier output? If we again go to the previous slide, we will see that in the rectifier output there are ripples are present, and within the ripples there is a DC value also present. So the ripples has a higher frequency compared to the DC component. So when the higher frequency will pass through the capacitor, it will automatically bypass through the capacitor to the ground, and the DC signal present in the rectifier output will not be passed through this capacitor due to infinite reactance. It will pass through the load resistance and build up a voltage across it. So thus, after across the load resistance, we will get a nearly smooth signal, which is our desired outcome. Now we will go to the derivation of this ripple factor of this filter. So before going to the derivation, we will first study the output waveform of this filter. The dotted waveform is of the rectifier output, full wave rectifier output. When the positive half is appeared across the capacitor will start charging and it will achieve the peak value of the incoming signal, that is Vm. After Vm, when the signal will again start falling, then the capacitor has no way to further charging, then it will start to discharge. Now there are two ways. First one, the capacitor will discharge very quickly and then again start charging. Second option is that the capacitor will slowly discharging and there is appearance of further signal and then it is again charging. Now, if we consider the first case, that is the capacitor will quickly discharge, then what will happen? Then the waveform of across the capacitor, then the output of the capacitor will nothing but the resemble of the rectifier output. So our objective will not be fulfilled. That means if the capacitor will start charging and it will achieve the Vm, and if it will quickly discharge the voltage, if it quickly discharge, then what will happen? The waveform, the rectifier output will be again repeated across the capacitor. That is not our desirable. So we will move to the second option. Second option means we will design the circuit in such a way that the capacitor will start discharging slowly, so that when the seconds, so during its discharge, the another cycle will appear and the capacitor will again start charging. So thus we can remove the unwanted ripples from the rectifier output. The ripples, here the ripple is designated as VR peak to peak. So this is the peak to peak ripple, this portion. This portion is the peak to peak ripple voltage. And we know that the charge acquired by the capacitor is the peak to peak ripple voltage into capacitor, that is CV. The charge it has lost, if you see that charge it has lost at the time T2. So how can we calculate how much charge it will be lost? It will lose the charge which is equal to the I current, that is a DC current, into the time, because you know that during the discharge, the capacitor will discharge through the load resistance. Again I am telling, capacitor will start charging through the rectifier, this path, and the capacitor will discharge through the load resistance. So during the discharging, the IDC, that is the DC current, will be considered. So that's why we have considered IDC into T2 as the discharge loss, discharging. Now we are equating the charge acquired by the capacitor and the charge it has lost, that is VR peak to peak into C equals to IDC into T2. And the T2 is equals to T by 2. Why it is T by 2? Because already mentioned that we have to design the circuit in such a way that the capacitor will slowly discharge. So that means the T2 will be somehow equal to the half of the time period. So that's why T2 is considered as T by 2, because it is our main design criteria. So T2 equals to T by 2, it is 1 by 2 if. Now VR peak to peak is equals to IDC by 2 FC, because if you calculate the IDC VR peak to peak, it is equals to IDC into T2 by C. So putting down the value of T2, it becomes IDC by twice FC. And if you observe the output, it will somehow equal to, if you observe the upper portion of the dotted graph, you will see that it will somehow looks like a triangular wave. So in the triangular wave, the RMS value is equal to the peak to peak value by 2 root 3. So the ripple RMS value of the ripple voltage is equals to VR peak to peak by 2 root 3. Now, VRRMS can be reorganized as IDC by 4 FC root 3. IDC by 4 FC root 3. Why? Because VR peak to peak is equals to IDC by 2 FC. So that's why it becomes IDC by 4 FC root 3. And we know that the IDC is equals to VDC by RL. IDC equals to VDC by RL. So it becomes VDC by 4 FCRL into root 3. Therefore, the ripple factor tau is equals to VRRMS by VDC. VRRMS equals to VDC by 4 FCRL into root 3 divided by VDC. So VDC cancelled out. It becomes 1 by 4 FCRL into root 3. So tau can be optimized by fine selection of C and load resistance. Now I will focus on the tau values. We know that the full wave rectifier, the ripple factor is sufficiently high, and it will not depend on the frequency or the load resistance of the frequency of the signal. Now in this case, you will see that as a capacitor is involved, so if we increase the value of the capacitor, automatically the tau will be reduced. Also, if we increase the frequency of the incoming signal, then also the tau will be reduced. Now in this case, there are two cases. If I have increased the frequency very high, like the tens or hundreds of the kilohertz, then what will happen? The F will be sufficiently high, so we do not need to increase the C very much. This higher value of F will automatically lower down the ripple factor. But if the frequency is significantly low, like 50 Hz, 60 Hz, etc., then the capacitor value must be high so that the ripple factor will be lowered. And also depending on the load resistance, it will also be lowered down. Next, we will study the pi section filter. It is a modified or some advanced version of the capacitor filter. If we look into the circuit diagram of the filter circuit, we will see that there are three components, passive components. One is C1, then L, there is the inductor, and another capacitor C2. The arrangement of the C1, L, C2 are just looking like a Greek letter pi. That's why the name of the circuit is pi section filter. So C1, L, and C2 basically forms a pi shaped circuit. That's why it is called pi section filter. Now if we go to the full wave rectified output, we will in the Fourier series we will see that it is V naught equals to VDC minus VR by pi sine 2 omega t minus sine 4 omega t by 2 plus sine 6 omega t by 3 dot dot. So 4 omega t, 6 omega t, they are they are higher order harmonics, whereas 2 omega t is the second order harmonics. And the amplitudes of the higher order harmonics are significantly low. So the first C1 will automatically bypass the higher frequencies due to its XC values 1 by omega C. But the second order harmonics will not be sufficiently removed by this capacitor due to its significant amplitudes. So in order to remove this second harmonics, we need further passive components. That's why we will include the inductor and the another capacitor C2. Now in this expression, the VR is nothing but the ripple voltage. VR is the ripple voltage. We know VR peak to peak equals to IDC by 2 FC1. But in this expression, the ripple amplitudes will be VR by pi. Always remember the amplitudes of the ripple voltage in the full wave expression is the VR by pi. So VR by pi is if it is the peak to peak voltage of the ripple value, then the RMS value will be V prime VR by pi root 2. What is RMS? It is the V prime. V prime is basically the voltage appeared across the C1. Now putting down the value of the VR, that is IDC by 2 FC1, we will get the V prime expression. And after we are reorganizing this V prime expression, that is 2 IDC by 4 pi FC1 root 2, we will modify the expression as below, that XC1 equals to 1 by 2 omega C1. XC1 equals to 1 by 2 omega C1, because all of you know that basically this second order harmonics is very crucial and it is very dangerous. It will cause the harmonic distortion of the output signal. So we have to remove this second order harmonics. Therefore, this XC1 must be written as 1 by 2 omega C1, and omega equals to 2 pi f. So 4 pi f C1. So in this case, it is here also 4 pi f C1. It is equals to XC1 equals to 1 by. So we can arrange this V prime equals to IDC into XC1, IDC into XC1, and XL is equals to 2 omega L. So it is equals to 4 pi FL. So the inductor current IL equals to, if you see, inductor current IL equals to V prime by XL. Now V prime is equals to 2 IDC by 4 pi FC1 root 2 divided by XL. So it becomes IDC XC1 root 2 by XL. And VC2 RMS means the voltage across the C2. It is equals to VC2 RMS. So VC2 RMS equals to IL, that is inductor current into resistance. So it becomes VC2 in IL into XC2, and after putting down the values, it will get a complex expression. Always remember that XC1, XL and XC2 all are involving the 2 omega. Don't write here omega. It is 2 omega because this 2 omega is basically filtered out. Now VDC equals to IDC into RL. So putting down the values here, we will reorganize expression, and the ripple factor gamma equals to VC2 RMS by VDC. So VC2 RMS means this value. You are seeing this value. Just put down the value here, and VDC equals to IDC into RL. After manipulation, we will get gamma equals to this expression. Now XC1 equals to 1 by 2 omega C1, XC2 1 by 2 omega C2, XL 2 omega L. So after that, we will get this complex expression. Here we will see that there is a term omega cube, means there is a cube term. So cube term means if the omega frequency, that is f equals to 50 hertz, then automatically the denominator will consist of 50 into 50 into 50. So that means it's a larger term. So automatically the the ripple factor will be drastically lowered. So in that case, the LC1, C2 will not be so much higher, will not be so much higher due to this omega cube. But if we compare with the advanced power supply, this value of LC1, C2 will be higher because these are the lower frequency circuits. Somehow we will go to the advantages of the circuits. First one is the beta ripple rejection, as we have already discussed. Highly peak current, because as the ripples are filtered out, so we will get the maximum current, higher output voltage. Disadvantage is that as the circuit will not involve any feedback circuit, so there is no such chance of regulation. Regulation means the output voltage must be stable irrespective of the line voltage change or the load resistance change. So that type of regulation cannot be achieved in this circuit, and the circuit is costly and heavier in weight. Costly in terms of presence of inductor, two electrolyte capacitors, and heavier means as it deals with lower frequency, that is 50 hertz, so the size of inductor and the two capacitors are significantly higher. So that's this is the theoretical concept of the two capacitors. Now we will discuss the two numericals for better understanding this topic. First one, calculate the value of the capacitance to use in capacitor filter connected to a full wave rectifier operating at a standard aircraft power frequency of 400 Hz. If the ripple factor is 10% for a load resistance 500 ohm. So we have to evaluate the value of capacitance in a capacitor filter where the ripple factor is 10% and frequency of operation is 400 Hz and the load is 500 ohm. Just put down the value of ripple factor. Ripple factor equals to 1 by 4 FC RL root 3. Please remember this formula. And then put down the value of F, RL. Here I have inserted the values. So after cross multiplication, we will get the capacitor value 72.2 microfarad. See, the value is significantly higher. It will not be available by a small size capacitor. The capacitor size is significantly high, 72.2 microfarad. And remember that this type of capacitors are electrolyte or the polar capacitors, and this specific value cannot be available in market. You have to organize this value, that if you can connect two polar capacitors, one is 22 microfarad, another one is a 50 microfarad, and then you can connect it to parallel connection. Second problem is that we want to observe what is the change in the ripple factor if the circuit, if the filter circuit has been changed to pi section filter. The component value will be remain same, that is the C1, C2 will be 72.2 microfarad. See here, the value are same, and there is an extra component L, inductor is 53 Henry. The load resistance will also be same, 500 ohm, and the frequency of operation is 400 Hz. So now tau equals to root 2 8 omega cube LC1 C2 RL, and omega is 2 pi f, so f is 400 Hz. So just put down the values. We will calculate the value of a ripple factor is 0.00185%. So see, in the previous case it was 10%. Now in this case it is very much smaller. So using the same component value but changing the circuit, we will drastically change the ripple factor value. So that's why the pi section filter is very much advantageous than the capacitor filter. and it will offer very low ripple factor across the output. So that's all. Thank you for listening the lectures.